guys, welcome back to the Unfiltered. So as I start today's video, it does feel a bit heavy because as I record this, it is the 13th of November, which marks 3 years since the horrific unalivings of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Thanica Nodal. These people have really received no justice for what happened to them. I just want to say rest in peace. Adding to that, the way the media has pushed this entire story and put Bryan Kohberger away, yet whoever did this is still out there, and I find it absolutely shocking. So yes, 3 years have passed and still these victims have not received justice. There is a lot of new documentation that has come out, and as I'm reading through all of this, I can't help but wonder, is everybody in Idaho on some kind of sleeping medication? Because honestly, it seems to be a very big problem. If you have noticed, if somebody doesn't want to take any accountability for anything, then they just claim that they were asleep. This is a story that gets pushed around all the time. I mean, everybody was supposedly asleep that night except Bryan Kohberger. I mean, he was the only one who was awake late at night. Now, something that really stood out was a statement from Emily Alandt. I want to be clear that I'm not saying that she was involved in what happened in that house, but she's definitely lying, along with many others around this case. So the question you have to ask is, why is Emily lying? What does she really know about what happened? Now, according to the documents, Emily says that she went to bed at around 8:30 p.m. the night before the unalivings. And I find that very strange because we all know that there were a lot of parties going on in that area, a lot of people out and about, and yet she claims that she went to bed at 8:30 p.m. She then says that she woke up around 1:30 a.m., stayed awake, and went back to bed around 3:30 or 4 a.m., which is very convenient that she's asleep at the time that the unalivings happened. So the question is, what was she doing during those hours? I mean, what woke her up? And what took her 3 hours to get back to sleep? The thing is, if Emily went to sleep the time that she said she did, I need you to watch this video, and I'm going to link it in the description. Now, this was an interview that was done with Peyton Rossi by Officer Rosinski. When you look at Peyton's story, it's very different, or it contradicts what Emily told the police. So Officer Rosinski asked Peyton what he did on the night of the 12th of November 2022, and Peyton says that he went to a party at the Treehouse, which is near the White's Complex apartments, and we've spoken about this before. That is where he mentions that he saw Emily with her boyfriend, and we have to assume that this is Hunter Johnson. The thing is, he was not the only one that saw Emily at this party. Peyton said that he left around 10 or 11 p.m. He went home, he watched a movie. I don't really understand, because the interview is very hard to watch. I mean, they keep blanking out a lot of things, but he does mention a lot of the frat guys. He says that he went to sleep and that he got a phone call where he was asked to go to the corner club. And this is where he apparently met up with Jack. Now, I'm not sure which Jack. People from the club were picked up, and we are going to get into that in a separate video. But the point I'm making is that he was at the party and he saw Emily. Now, are there two Emilys? I mean, there's two Jacks, two Hunters. There's too many coincidences. So now we have Emily, who is saying that she's asleep at her house, and people seeing Emily at the party, which to me is just very strange. When you look at this interview with Emily, it's really not the only time that she's talking about this. You need to also keep in mind they did that series called One Night in Idaho, and I'm not going to comment on the name. You see, it's not only Emily that's lying. I mean, when you watch that documentary, I'm not going to get into a full analysis of the documentary. I'll do that a bit later. But the thing that's obvious to me is that none of these families were actually standing together. You would think that they would be after what happened to all of their children, but that's not what happened. Right from the very get-go on the series, I got a very bad feeling about Emily and Hunter. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm not saying again that they are guilty of what happened to the students. But you know, sometimes you just get this feeling when you look at a documentary, especially when something this horrific happened, and it's almost natural for you to feel very sorry for people. But I really struggled with that because it's almost like Emily and Hunter keep looking at each other for confirmation, like they are trying to get their story straight in a way. Now, the whole documentary seems to be focused on Emily, Hunter, and another girl. The thing that I don't understand about Emily, for those of you that have knowledge of this, basically I'm doing this to catch people up that really don't know about the story. On the morning, we were told that Dylan called Emily and Hunter to come over and check on Xana. She was freaked out. The thing I can't understand is that any person with common sense would not believe this. I mean, Emily says that she noticed a knife lying at the top of the stairs. Now remember that Hunter was always portrayed as this big hero who went in and told these girls to get out. Apparently, all of them went up to the second floor, and according to Emily, she never saw the bodies of the victims, but yet somehow she managed to see this knife, which, by the way, was a steak knife, lying at the very top of the stairs where Maddie and Kaylee were. If you look at the body cam video, the knife is not on that beer pong table at 316. Officer Nunez and Hunter Johnson are walking out of Xana's bedroom at this point. And this is when you see Nunez tell Hunter to stay back. And he goes and he walks back into Xana's bedroom. But then you see this knife appear on the table at 344. Now you can go and play this video many times like I have. I'll also link it in the description. Because when you look up the stairs, as Officer Nunez is walking up there, there's no knife. Maybe somebody can explain this to me, because what Emily's saying doesn't make any sense. This gets me every time. It's just a lot to take in. And while we're on that note, remember, they've never found the weapon. Maybe that's because this weapon was there in the house all along. Remember, Hunter, for any of you who are very new to this case, was Ethan Chapin's best friend. Now, he said that when they were called over, he didn't really know what was going on, because in his words, he said that he was terrified. The thing is, he didn't look terrified when he was interviewed. These people said that when they got there, they could immediately sense that something was terribly wrong.
November, so I had shorts on, slides on. Like, I wasn't prepared to obviously stay there. I was just going over to check, see what's going on. I would say as soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
And we were told that Hunter went to the second floor living room with Dylan and Emily. And he then told them that they have to get out. You know, I mean, he was being portrayed, like I said, as this big hero. After this, he went to the kitchen to go and get a knife. And to me, this is just extremely strange, because he's quite a big guy. And the reason that he went to go and get this knife is because he said that he didn't know if there was one or multiple perpetrators still in that house. Remember, they were called over because of Dilly, who said that her friend Xana was passed out. So nobody said anything about a break-in or other people potentially being in that house, or even that there was any threat or danger to any of them. And I think this is why I just don't trust these people. I've never in my life heard of anybody going to grab any kind of weapon for an unconscious person. If you get called because somebody has passed out or because they're unresponsive, then you're just going to get your ass over there in a big hurry and try and help them. But if you perceive that there's a threat, then there's no way, not even a big guy like Hunter would even attempt to go into a dangerous situation like that. What did he think he was going to do with one small little weapon? To me, it seems more than strange for a group of college kids to go into a house where they say they didn't know if there were other people still in that house. I don't know if any of you have ever been in that situation, but it just seems weird that he thought he would fend them off with one little klein messetjie. Then he said that they couldn't wake Xana or Ethan up. Now that is also weird. This is the first mention of Ethan. According to what we were told, only Xana was seen. So how are they saying that they couldn't wake them up? Both of them. I mean, didn't they notice all the bodily fluids? I mean, that would have been all over the place. There is a theory that I mentioned before, and that is that this did not happen inside of that house. Maybe everything had been washed and cleaned up, including the victims, then staged, and I think that could be the only probable way that you wouldn't notice. I'm not saying that that's true or I believe that entirely. Maybe the scene was cleaned up. Another thing that is very odd is that Emily went into this house and she never mentions smell. I mean, somebody who is deceased, or multiple people that are deceased, it would be horrific. You know, a crime scene like that would leave a horrific smell. So this is something that would stay with anybody for the rest of their life. Now, if you look at the body cam video, Hunter has this knife. This is when he's checking on Xana. And we know now that the substance found on the knife was from Kaylee Gonzalez. This is just a speculation. We have to go with what we're seeing, is that Kaylee was in that bedroom of Xana's. I mean, you tell me, is that even a possibility? I know it sounds far-fetched, but according to everything that Dylan said, she heard a lot of movement in the house. And I don't believe that Ethan was attacked while he was sleeping. I've always believed that these students were moving around during this attack. Like I said, that's just my belief, that they were moving around. Especially when you look at the cuts, it tells me that Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan were not sleeping, that they were actively around. The only person I believe was not moving around was Madison Mogan. Here's why I say you have to always catch them out in their lie, because Emily mentions that these cups were knocked over. And I did do a video on this about 2 weeks ago where I said that the photos in the crime scene don't match what we were told. This would have been a chaotic and violent attack. And I think that these cups would have been knocked over for sure. But then, if we look at the images, the cups are still neatly stacked. I mean, the only cup that is actually knocked over is that one little plastic cup. And that's why I say this whole scene was staged. I mean, either she's lying or there was a very big cleanup that was done where they tried to rearrange everything. But they obviously forgot to match it in with what Emily said and leave those cups knocked over. I mean, even the bottle on the table, to me, that would have been one of the first things that would have been knocked over or fallen off even before those cups. So in this interview that Emily and Hunter gave with People, he said that around 3 a.m. on the 13th of November 2022, he was even locking his door while he was at Emily's place, and that this was very out of the ordinary for them to do. Basically, they were saying that they had this feeling that something was just not right. Emily also said that he didn't only lock the door, but he was constantly checking all the locks throughout the night. Now, the funny thing I found is that when police came to his door and asked him who lived there, he casually said, "I don't know." And also the fact that Bethany and Dylan were allowed to take a shower at Emily's place sit quite right with me. There's way too many strange things going on. Now, another thing that doesn't make sense is that Hunter Chapin, who's Ethan's brother, Hunter Johnson was said to have gone and woken him up to tell him that Ethan and Sanna had passed away. But this theory doesn't really make sense, because you can see from the police body cam footage and the reports, Hunter Johnson is at this house with the officers all the time. I mean, he's walking them through the crime scene, he's pointing things out all the time. So the question I have is, when exactly did he leave? When did he have the time to go and wake up Ethan's brother? Ethan's brother showed up while Hunter Johnson was still at the crime scene. So to me, this is another strange coincidence. Now, the only way that this would work is Hunter had went to Ethan's brother before calling 911. So this would mean he would have had to have gone over to his place and said that he has seen something horrific, and then he would have immediately returned to the house. That also doesn't make sense, because remember, the 911 call didn't come from Hunter Johnson's phone, and it wasn't made until noon. And I mean, this call we know came from inside the house. The question is, if Hunter already knew what happened, why was he not the one to call 911? Ethan's brother Hunter said that he walked over to the house. This raises the question, why was his Explorer parked right there? He says he didn't drive it, but why was it left at the house? Another thing that we have to ask is, where was Murphy when Hunter, Dylan and Emily went into that house? I mean, we did hear that Murphy was found inside the house in Kaylee's bedroom. You know, Hunter was over there quite a lot of the time. So when he originally went over to the house, why didn't Murphy run out to greet him? I mean, that's what pets do. You know, these are just a small fraction of the documents that have come out, and already you can see that Emily is caught out in a lie. Now, I know it's very small, but even telling such a small lie means that you are definitely hiding something much bigger. So you have to wonder, if Emily wasn't involved, then why wouldn't she just come out and tell the truth about what really happened on that morning? I mean, these people are shameless. They're basically lying with their eyes wide open. So I don't know. What do you think about her contradicting the video interview? I mean, I've never planned to solve the case. I think for me, I'm just asking questions about a lot of inconsistencies that we see. I'm sure between every creator out there covering this, there has to be an answer as to what really happened. I won't discredit any theory, because at this point, the story is so wild that absolutely anything is possible. So that's just how I feel about it. I mean, I could be wrong, and I also don't want to seem like I'm repeating information that is already known and documented out there. I do these videos in a slower way because there are many people that I know that have never ever heard about this case. So my aim is to try and catch everybody up. I mean, this is very scary. I don't want to go full blast and leave people in the dark that don't really know what is happening. I would like to know your thoughts, and I'd like to say that I appreciate every one of you watching my channel, people who leave comments and likes. Please also don't forget there is an email if you'd like to leave a suggestion, or if you have any information that you feel could help with investigating this case. But until next time, please take care, and I will see you guys in the next video.